Washington, D.C., but lives in New York now. An amazing drummer, author, educator, and everything. You see tonight he plays all different styles, and he has one book already published. It's one of the best sellers at Amazon. He actually has the book here for you, Stuff You Can Use, which is a great book for anybody. And the second book, as we were talking today, is almost, which will be the sequel of that. We're going to have more stuff you can use. How about that? So,
Yeah.
without further ado, I would like to introduce Rob Mitzner.
Hey, thank you, everybody. So, how many of you here are drummers that go to LACM? Hands. How many are non-drummers who go to LACM? Cool. How many of you are drummers who don't go to LACM? Let's see. All right, cool. Oh, you've divided yourselves in half. I like it. So, great. So, this is going to be something for the drummers. This is going to be something for non-drummers. I basically want to go through a bunch of different styles with you, and I want to tell you a little bit about how I function as a professional musician in New York, and I want to tell you about some of the skills that I feel are important to have if you're going to be a professional musician. So first I'll tell you a little about myself. Marcelo did it already. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. I started out as a young kid playing guitar and piano, and then I moved to the drums when I was 13 about. And I started playing in the school band, and one thing I realized really quickly is that drummers who can play a lot of different styles and are really versatile and can do a lot of stuff get work, right? The more you can do, the more that people will ask you to play with them in different situations. And the more you'll be able to succeed in the situations that you're in, regardless of what style it is or who's in charge or what music it is. So I think that playing a lot of different styles and having at least a basic knowledge of a lot of different things makes you better at each style individually. Because everyone has their specialties, right? Everyone has the things that they like, the music that they're passionate about. I do. I know you guys do too. But I think like the more tools you have in the drawer, the more information you have, the more music you listen to, the more knowledge you have, the more you have a chance to be successful in whatever situation you're in. So, I live in New York. I play jazz a lot. I also play rock. I play with singer-songwriters. I play country. I play blues. I play funk. All this different stuff. And not all of it is stuff that I grew up with and was comfortable with right away, you know? Like sometimes when you grow up with a certain style of music, that's really like in your bones. You feel it. You're like dialed in. When it comes time to play that, you say, yeah, that's my stuff. I'm ready to do that. But then there's some other stuff that maybe you feel a little less comfortable with. And I think the way to get comfortable with it is just to listen and to find drummers who are playing this style and to say, okay, what can I take from this? In this new era, right, where we have access to YouTube and Instagram and we can see any drummer that we want, we can check out so much different stuff. Like, I didn't have that when I was growing up. I was like, okay, I gotta buy records and tapes and I hear people that I like in that way and be able to check them out like that. Now, in a way, it's better because we have all this stuff at our fingertips, but it's also challenging because there's a lot of information out there that is stuff that you can't use. Just, you can't use it. It's cool. You can, you know, sometimes it's great to be able to find what you don't like. And that's okay. Like, I listen to a lot of different types of music, and sometimes I think, okay, I don't like that, and that's okay. You don't have to like everything, but you store that away. You take that little bit of information, and you use it, and you use it because, like, if you're a drummer, the most important thing is being a good musician and making the band sound good, making the rest of the band sound good. That's the most important thing. And I know people tell you that all the time. That's not to say you shouldn't be flashy. That's not to say you shouldn't solo, work on your technique, your chops, all that stuff. I do all that stuff. I work on it. I film videos of myself doing it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you should let that stuff get in the way of being able to play good music. Because the more good music you can play, the more people will ask you to do stuff. So I've been lucky in New York. I've gotten to do some really cool stuff. I got to go on Late Night with Seth Meyers and play with that band. That was a real trip. I've played at Lincoln Center. I've played at the Blue Note. I've toured with artists, you know. But I've also played a lot of little gigs where someone is drinking an espresso martini 2 feet away from the cymbal right here. So how do you function in all those situations? If you're in school, you're here at LACM, you want to be a drummer, a bass player, producer. Like, you got to do all different stuff. Like, that's not to say don't specialize, because that's important too. You got to pick a lane sometimes and get into your thing. But I think the more things you can do, the better off you'll be. So over the pandemic, I had the opportunity to put some of this on on some pieces of paper, and I wrote a book. And that book, it was called Drumming in a Band: Stuff You Can Use. And then over the past few years, I've had the chance to go around and do some clinics and masterclasses. But, you know, really, I just play in New York City. That's what I do. That's my career. I play 4 or 5 nights a week at least. I play with different bands. This book that I have is like a living representation of what I do. And the second book actually is the same thing, More Stuff You Can Use. It's basically just all different styles. And I think what I want to communicate to you guys today, and the things I'd like to get into, are basically some of the techniques and the things I do as a professional musician to be successful. We'll talk a little bit about charts, reading and writing different charts. We'll talk about musical vocabulary. Does everyone know what I mean by musical vocabulary? Does that sound familiar? Because the thing is, music is a language just like anything else, and different styles of music require different types of vocabulary. Like, you don't always want to play the same, you wouldn't want to play the same licks in a rock tune that you would in a jazz tune. It's different techniques, it's different understanding of how we work with this language. Same with R&B and gospel chop stuff. And if you're playing blues or country or metal or anything like that, all of these different styles, I think you can get caught in a trap of playing the same licks, right? Everybody has their favorite licks. You guys have your favorite licks, right? Drummers, bass players, everybody, on whatever instrument you have. You're always, like, you're playing these things, you get into, like, hand-foot combinations and stuff. And, like, some of that stuff works over everything, but what you really want to do is get inside the music and make it so it sounds unique to that style. So, sound, that's another thing that's really important. Like, because the drums are the only instrument that I can think of, maybe somebody else can think of a different one, where you can literally pick up a piece of it and walk to the other side of the room, right? It's a collection of sounds. It's all these different things. We have high-end sounds on the cymbals. We have like deep mid-range things with the toms. We have the snare, which is like, can be high-end or mid or low. It's a tuning thing, right? And then we have the kick drum, which is in the bottom register. And all of these things go together to make your sound. And having a good sound on the drums, that's a really challenging thing to do. I've heard some really great drummers, and it feels like, okay, this sounds really nice, but like something's a little off. The balance is off, right? Because we got 4 limbs here. We got 2 arms and 2 legs, and we almost got to think of them like faders on a mixing board. The balance has to be right. You have to choose the right drums. You have to choose the right cymbals. You have to muffle them and tune them. And there's so much that goes into getting a good drum sound. So I'm lucky enough to be associated with some really awesome companies that keep me hooked up with some really great drums. We can talk more about the rig itself later. But I want to say thank you to Yamaha Drums, Peisty Cymbals, Remo, Heads, Vic Firth, Lowboy Custom Beaters, and Hudson Music, which is the publisher of the book. We've got some cool giveaways in the back. I think they're in the back. There were some cool giveaways from those companies, or maybe they were on your seats. And then at the end, we're actually going to be raffling off some more cool stuff. I've got a gift certificate from Lowboy Beaters. We got some Remo heads and some drum keys and some cool stuff. So I really want to express my gratitude for that. So these slides that you're seeing, I'm going to kind of pull back the curtain on what's happening up here, because you see these slides and you see me running audio tracks. I've got a little mount. This is what professional musicians do. This is what we do when we're reading. We've got the iPad down here. I've got this little mount clipped to the hi-hat stand. It's made by Peak Music Stands. They make a great little sturdy mount. And I'm using an app called Fourscore. Does anyone know what that is? Okay. Fourscore is the app that all professional musicians, including from everyone from Broadway guys, the Broadway people use this. If you're just playing for a singer-songwriter and you make a one-page little chart, everybody uses this for everything. And it's basically like one of the tools of the trade that I think is really important. I mean, paper charts are still a thing. They're still a thing. If you have a 5-pager that you're trying to read and it's across the stand, right? Sometimes it's better to be able to see all of it at once, right? I don't know. But for me, I read most of my stuff off an iPad. I use set lists. I make these set lists in Fourscore. So one thing we're going to talk about today, and another thing is that charts are a really interesting thing because sometimes someone hands you a chart and you got to read the chart, and sometimes you get nothing, and they say, okay, here, learn this tune. So what I do, and what I will show you here in just a moment, is I make these shorthand little road maps. I know all drummers do this. A lot of drummers do it. And they basically are like your driving directions for the tune. They tell you the important sections of the tune. They tell you the different, like they'll tell you the tempo or the groove or all the relevant information. It's not like a music chart with all the notes written out. It's really just notes. And it's important that you be able to read it and nobody else, because these are your notes. That's what it is. But I think it's really important to be able to know how to do this, because you got to learn songs. And sometimes there's not enough time to learn a whole set of music by ear. If you need to learn 40 tunes, I see my friend Nick Potter sitting in the front. He knows what I'm talking about. 40 tunes, you got to learn this stuff quickly. And maybe you're not going to remember everything. So you make some notes and you write it on your iPad. You put it in your iPad, you put it in Fourscore, and you secretly look at it while you're down here. Or maybe, here's what I do a lot. I make the notes, and that process teaches me the tune, and then I don't even read them on stage. I just leave them. So again, this is just one of the things that I do as a professional musician to help me learn music. So what I want to do now is we're going to check out a piece of music, and I'll show you one of these road maps of mine, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about how the road map relates to what I'm actually playing. This is a track from my book. It's by a great artist. Yeah, sorry guys. It's by a great artist named Simon Garrett, great British composer. Okay, so a lot to unpack there, right? A lot of different parts of this tune. So let's go back to the top. We've got basically medium, fast rock, 2-bar count in it, and I wrote the tempo. This is what we do, right? I've got some bits of music in here. This is a track from my book, so these bits of music I have in here are printed out. Usually, I'll tell you what, guys, I still handwrite these charts, and I'll scratch out little beats or whatever, and then I'll use my iPad or my phone, and I'll take a picture of them, and I'll put them in, and that's what I'll read. But so you're seeing something, I like typed this out in Microsoft Word or whatever, and this is what it is. So because I was actually a little embarrassed to put my poor handwriting in the book, but anyway. So let's talk about what's in this chart, and let's talk about the different sections of this tune. One thing that's interesting, right? If you look at verse 1, 14 bars. Everyone see the numbers on the left with the little boxes. That's how many measures are in each section of the tune. So usually, music is felt, we feel music in like 4 and 8 bar increments. So it's kind of unusual to have a 14-bar thing. So the way I like to think of that is like, really what that is if you think about the chords and you think about the harmony and the vocals of what's going on, he's just kind of like looping the last 2 bars again. He's just repeating the last 2 bars. So it's kind of like a little tag. Everyone know what I mean by a tag. That's just a little extra section on the end of it, on end of the thing. So we basically have this opening fill, and then we have this 14-bar intro, and then the 14-bar verse 1. So when we get to verse 1, I come over, and I'm on the closed hi-hat. So you guys hear there's like this rhythm going on underneath the whole time that's like da-da-da-da-da-da, right? There's some syncopation going on. So I'm taking my bass drum, and I'm locking that syncopation up with the rest of the band. I'm playing that first verse, and then we get to verse 2, right? So the second verse is 16 bars, so it's actually 2 bars longer. So that's something you got to check, because here's the thing. If you're playing a tune like this, you don't want to mark the wrong section of the tune. You don't want to hit like it's the top of the form, 2 bars early, 2 bars late, whatever. You got to know exactly what these sections are, and you got to write them down. So I'm starting this tune on the closed hi-hat, and I'm keeping the bass drum syncopation steady. Then we get to the pre-chorus. Does everyone see the pre-chorus there? So the pre-chorus, I wrote open hi-hat, sparsely, and build to stop on beat 16, bar 4, and. So that's almost more information than you need, because like if you listen to the tune, you hear this thing, right? You could hear this stuff. Sometimes when I'm writing these roadmaps, sometimes I'll put way more information than I'll need, because I don't trust myself to remember the stuff, but I do. I remember it. We remember it. You get this in your ears and you remember it. But I put the little groove there down for the pre-chorus. The thing that's interesting is it's the same thing as the verse groove. It's the same thing. We're just opening the hi-hat on beat 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's exactly the same. But we've made a slight texture change. When we are coming up with drum parts, it's really important to think about more than just the drums. We want to think about the song. We want to think about the song structure. Pre-choruses. Does everyone know what that is, what a pre-chorus is? That is the section that connects your verse with your chorus. It is a transitional period in the tune. So we don't want to act like we've made such a big change that everyone's like, whoa, what the heck was that? The pre-chorus, oh my God, we must be on the chorus. We don't want to get there so quickly. We want to make a slight change on the pre-chorus of the tune so that people know, hey, we're in a different spot, but maybe we're not exactly where we're going to be yet. So I try to think about making a really subtle change, really subtle. That's just opening this hi-hat just a tiny bit. And the thing about it is, like, you don't even want to open the hi-hat that much. You just want to open, like, lift your toes inside your shoe and just get a little sizzle. So we were here, verse, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Very subtle change, but it's something different. It's introducing a different texture in because we're getting to a new section of the tune. Now, who has been in a band rehearsal with someone who wrote a tune and they tell you that they want something somewhere, but they don't know what it is and they can't tell you how to do it? Okay, good. I knew it. Because drummers, we are all, no matter who you play with or what style you play or where you live or what you're doing, this happens to us. This happens. And it's almost like we've entered a foreign language communication breakdown. Like they look at us like we've landed from Mars and we're here to contribute to your tune. So what we have to do is be able to hear what somebody else is thinking on their tune and come up with something that they like and that you like, and it makes the song sound good. Those three things I just said, they like, you like, and the song sound good, there's a really delicate balance there. Because sometimes you got to play something that maybe you don't think is right, but they think is right. And sometimes you play what you think is right, and they don't love it, but then you stick to it. It's a really delicate social experiment playing in a band. And I think when you're working on someone else's music, you really want to be, it's important to be sensitive and faithful to what they want, but also, you're there to bring your thing. So, if you have ideas, fight for your ideas. So, anyway, this is a roundabout way of saying Simon, who wrote this tune, and is also a drummer, by the way, so, he actually can be a little more specific with me. He was like, okay, well, when we get to the chorus, I want something totally different. And I said, okay, side eye, what do you mean totally different? And he said, in his British accent that I won't imitate, he said, I think I want a rhythmic change, not just a texture change. Because you could just go to the ride cymbal and that's the texture change. If you you could just keep moving your right hand around to different surfaces and playing the same thing, and that'll create some change. He was like, no, I want the first half of the chorus to be something really different. So we said, okay, halftime. Does everyone know what halftime is? Halftime is basically we're playing half as many notes in the same amount of space that we were before. So the snare drum, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, we're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But I've got 16th notes going over here. So basically we've taken out half of the bass drums and snare drums. So for the first half of the chorus, that's what's happening. We're on the ride cymbal, and we've got that going. The second half of the chorus, we go back into the double time, the normal time. And again, we've got an odd number of bars. We've got 8 bars at the beginning, and then we've got 12. Really interesting, right? Because people don't always write in square blocks of whatever. And I think that's actually what makes music cool, is sometimes it's not all squared off and it's not the same. So we do that chorus thing and we play those hits, right? Those hits are important. We want to hit those things with the band and we want it to be really tight. We go back to verse 3 and we basically repeat the same thing again. Now I'm going to say something really important. This is really important. When you are playing a tune like this, it's a rock tune or a pop tune, you have to settle on a part for each part of the tune. And then every time that comes along, you have to play something very close to that every time. So when you're in the verse, there needs to be a verse thing that happens. It can be a little different. You can build a little bit from verse 1 to verse 3. We can build intensity. But generally, verse things are verse things. And then you get to the pre-chorus. Every time the pre-chorus comes around, I play that open hi-hat thing. Every time the chorus comes around, the first half of it, I'm playing the halftime bell. And then when we get to the second half, I'm going to the thing. And it doesn't mean you have to do the same fill every time or do it exactly the same way. But if you have consistent parts for different parts of the tune, it will make you sound so much more prepared. It will make your performance so much more polished. It's really important to think about that stuff. And that doesn't mean your performance has to be stiff or robotic, but what it does mean is that you should make these decisions, when you're learning this tune, and then when you do it, don't play it a different way every single time. consistency is important, especially in like pop and rock music in this way. So basically we do verse 3, then we get into the pre-chorus again, exactly the same. Chorus 2A, chorus 2B, we do the halftime. Then this tune is kind of interesting because there's a guitar solo, right? But it's at the end of the tune. That's not the way it usually is. Usually the solo's in the middle, and then we come back and sing a bunch of choruses, soaring choruses at the end, and finish. But we're not doing it that way. We got the guitar solo at the end of the tune. So I made the decision, okay, this sounds like it's over the chorus. Like we're still in the chorus, so I'm gonna keep my ride cymbal, my chorus business that I'm doing, I'm gonna keep that going. And so you keep going and you build the intensity and you wanna catch those hits. So besides having uniformity and organization with your parts and how they're put together and where they are, you also wanna make sure that you're locked in with the bass player. This brings me to my next very important thing. The lock between the bass player and the drummer in every style of music that I can think of is the most important rhythmic foundation of the songs. And that's what the rhythm section is built on. I was thinking about this earlier. All of my best friends are bass players. I mean, I know a lot of drummers. I have drummer friends too. But like, we only get to see drummers in this thing. The bass players, you're with them all the time, right? And you have to agree. You have to build these grooves, and you have to play together. And there's so many different ways to do that. The most obvious way for me is like your bass drum notes need to line up with those bass notes in this kind of thing. That will help you get a tight groove. Now, you don't have to do that all the time in everything, but for the most part, if you're trying to build a tight groove and you find those bass notes with your bass drum, you're gonna really make the music sound so much tighter. So I'm gonna play another tune and we're gonna check out that lock between the bass and drums. Okay, so on the screen, you see on the top, the drum groove for this tune I'm about to play. On the bottom, you see the bass groove. And you'll see some lines between them, indicating where it locks together. I'm gonna play the tune. I'm gonna put the chart for the tune up so you can follow the chart, and then I'll put this back.
Every
Thank you. What do we notice about this groove that's a little unusual? Just shout it out. Yeah, no kick on B1. Very interesting how that came about. There's the bass groove and the drum groove. Very interesting how this came about. So this is a play-along track from my book, my first book, and it was written by a singer named Andrea Capozzoli. She is a singer, trumpet player, keyboard player, multi-instrumentalist, very talented musician. She knows her stuff. She came in to the rehearsal one day and she said, guys, I got this idea. She looked at the bass player and said, here, check this out. She started playing this riff on the keyboard. She goes, like, what do you think? And the bass player and I looked at each other and we said, I guess there's no one. I guess we're not playing one. Because it was like very strongly suggested by her idea that she came in with. And I think like those interactions, like you guys, we all have this as drummers. We go into a band rehearsal and there's always these moments of like, how do we deal with this information that's coming at us? Like, what's the best way to do this? So we thought about it and we said, all right, well, should we we tried it with one and we tried it without one. It was better with no beat one. So if you look at the bass line, it's actually kind of almost more common for the bass player to be not playing on one in these cases, and the drums would just play. But it was interesting when we worked it out, like this is what worked the best. So we went through and we played this groove, and that's basically what it was. And if you go through the tune when I was playing, like I played one a little bit. There's no rules that said that you have to play it exactly the same way every time. This is a fluid thing. This is kind of like an R&B tune, like jazzy, soulful, soul R&B tune. And I think the most important thing is to like just do what makes the music sound right. And you want to be loose, but you want to be organized. This is what I was saying in the last tune. So we came up with this groove, and I'm playing my thing. I'm over here, and I'm like, okay, well, it's not to say I can't play on one, but I'm thinking in my head, like where is the bass player? How do I find him? Like, how can we make this groove really work? Because there's a lot of stuff going on top of it. Like modern music is all about production and layers, right? There's so many layers all the time. There's horns on top, there's background vocals, there's all this stuff. So if there's not a solid foundation in the rhythm section and the bass and drums, it makes it really hard to make a good song out of that stuff. And I mean, I think of the groove of a song, it's like a house, right? It's like your groove house. You want to have a solid foundation of that house. That is the bass and drums. Then you put up some walls. Maybe that's the keyboard player or the guitar player. Then maybe you put some furniture and you hang some pictures on the wall. All these things go together. The furniture and the pictures can be the vocals and the rest of it. It's all stacked on top of each other. But without a solid foundation of a rhythm section, you're going to have a really hard time making a good sounding groove, no matter how good of a bass player or drummer you have. Guys, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard, like in my life, like some of the best musicians who I idolized play on stage, and like maybe like sometimes it just doesn't happen. Sometimes they don't fit together, right? It just doesn't mean that people aren't good or there's something wrong, but like the synergy is really important. Synergy between the rhythm section is important, and I think that can be locking your bass drum in with the bass notes, but that can also be another thing. So check it out. I'm going to play another track now, and this is a different kind of way that the groove is happening. Different, same idea, different execution. If I can find it. There it is. Thank you. Okay, what did we near bass playing? Meaning we've got a lot of notes. The groove, the groove goes like that. It's linear. You can actually see it going across. It's not necessarily like super chopped up. It's more legato, and there's more notes going on. So in this kind of groove, the bass drum, is not locking in directly with the bass. But if you look a little deeper, there's some more stuff in the drum groove. There's a lot of ghost notes. Everyone know what ghost notes are? Ghost notes are the tiny little notes that I'm playing on my snare drum and my hi-hat, and sometimes on the bass drum too, that kind of give the groove a little bit of forward motion. It gives it some propulsion. It doesn't, like, I'm not making a huge deal out of them, right? They're like ornamentations, but they don't take away from the meat and potatoes of the groove, which is this 2 and 4 on the snare, 4 on the floor bass drum. But if you look at all the ghost notes, that stuff is kind of complementing what the bass player's doing. So what you get is this sort of musical crosstalk where the bass line is doing one thing and the drums are doing another thing, but they complement each other instead of being like playing the same thing. So the point that I'm trying to make with this tune as opposed to the last tune is there's lots of different ways to get to the same place. We can play fully together, or we can do it in this way. Regardless of that, of the way that we do it, we got to build a strong groove. And you and the bass player, like when you're a drummer and you get into rehearsal with a bass player, you guys just got to agree. You've got to agree. You've got to get to the point where you can build a solid foundation for everything else that's happening. And this is the kind of stuff I think about when I'm in New York or LA or anywhere, when I'm playing with different musicians in different styles. We're going to do another tune in a different style, and we can talk about that too. I think the most important thing that I take away from all of this is that you just have to think about this stuff, and you have to really be intentional with everything you do. And it's okay to be creative and let it happen, let stuff happen, and not everything has to be planned out. But I think it's really important to think about this stuff ahead of time so that when it comes time to sit down in the room and play, you have some musical information and you're ready to do it. Let's do another track. Okay. This is another track from the book. This is called Without You. You can probably see right now, it says train groove up there. Does everyone know what a train groove is? So a train groove, I think, is actually one of the most important grooves that a drummer should know how to play because it pops up in a lot of places. I hear it yeah, it's like traditionally a country kind of thing, but like it's in pop music big time. It's all over pop music. It's in so many different places. It's an important one. Let's check it out. Thank you. So, okay, a lot to unpack here, too. This is a really interesting tune. This was written by another artist, and this is my book. This one is by Luke Buck, and Luke Buck is yet another multi-instrumentalist, keyboard player, guitar player, singer. Does a lot of different things musically. He also happens to be a video person on Saturday Night Live, so he has some really cool some music videos that you could check out if you want to hear more of Luke Buck. So let's talk about this groove, right? This is a very simple roadmap that I did. This is really a lot like the ones that I will use on this on a gig, right? I'll write this stuff down. I've got the basic groove here, the train groove happening, and the drums are really kicking it off. One thing that's interesting about this is, did you notice how in the first verse, my bass drum was only playing half of the notes. I was only playing on 1 and 3. And then when we got to the first chorus, I started kicking it in with the full groove. This was something that didn't originally start out in the tune, but again, when you're in rehearsal and you're having these conversations, the artist said to me, I think I want like a little something different here. Now, he doesn't play drums, so he doesn't communicate with the drummer in the same way that someone who does. So he'll wave his arms about and do like abstractions and stuff. We've all had people do this to us, right? Where they're trying to communicate an idea, but they can't quite get it through. So what I took from what he was asking me was, okay, we're looking to keep the train groove going the whole song. The reason it's called a train groove, by the way, is now that you've heard it, right? It sounds like a train going down the tracks. Chaka, 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 chaka. Very important to know that groove. So basically, I'm over here on the snare drum for the entire tune, right? I never left. I never went over here. I never went over here. For the most part, the whole thing, snare drum groove on the train. So the changes that are going to happen to mark the different sections of this tune are going to happen in other ways. So having the bass drum only on beats 1 and 3 in the intro and verse 1, and then kicking it in the chorus, it kind of gives it a little bit of a lift when we get to the first chorus. That's what we want. We want to make the music move. We want to try to build the song, and we want to have our part really contribute to the growth of the song over the course of the whole thing. This is really important for drummers. I hear a lot of drummers that come up with a pattern, and then they just play the pattern for the whole song. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm glad you've come with an idea. But like this, there's a lot of different sections in this tune and in a lot of music, and you want to leave it some room to grow and some room to breathe. So one other thing that's interesting about this, I don't know if you noticed, on chorus 1, we've got 9 bars, right? Again, extra bars. This is some stuff that really trips drummers up a lot, because like if you hit the downbeat of the 9th bar like it's the top of the next section, that's going to be such a big matzo ball hanging out there. You know, you're really everyone's going to know that you don't know where you are. You are lost at that point. So it's really important to count. Like, you could count to 9, or you could feel the 9. Like, you can feel the 9 bars. Like, I know this tune really well. I've played this tune a billion times, so I don't have to count to 9. But like, if I didn't know this and I wrote this down and I wasn't sure how it would feel where we got to 9, man, I would just count that in my head. Just count it. And then when you get to the end of the chorus, we have a lift, bar 9, beat 3. Does everyone know what a lift is? This is super important in pop and rock music. Anyone? A lift is a pause in the music. It's a break. It's a rest. That's what it is. And when you have a lift, that means stop. That means stop playing, right? So we want to sound tight with the rest of the band. And so if the rest of the band stops, we got to write that down on our chart. So I wrote lift, bar 9, beat 3. So we get to, I'm in my head. I'm like, 8, 2, 3, 4, 9, 2, 3. Breath, lift. Bang. Then I hit it back again, right? This is a tiny little detail. But if you don't do it right, it will make your song a mess. It'll make the song a mess, and everyone will know that you're not in the right place. If you can be really careful with these details, it's going to make your performance go from good to great, right? No matter how good of a drummer you are, if you don't get this stuff, it's really going to make it sound sloppy. So we have this lift on the first chorus, and then we have the re-intro. Does everyone know what I mean when I'm right re-intro there? That's basically just the same thing as the beginning of the tune. It's the introduction again. That's all it is. So remember earlier I said you got to play the same thing on every section of the tune? Well, yeah, unless it's a decision to play it slightly differently. If you remember on the intro, I was playing the bass drum only on 1 and 3 because we hadn't introduced the quarter note bass drum thing yet. But then we get to number 2, and we've already been playing quarter notes. So if we pull those quarter notes out, it's going to sound weird, like we've lost momentum. So we keep the quarter note bass drum pattern going for the rest of the tune, because now that it's in, if you take it out, it's going to destabilize the groove. We're building it slowly. So we play the second verse, the re-intro in the second verse, and then we get to chorus 2. If you look at chorus 2 compared to chorus 1, there's a slight difference. With the difference being there's no lift at the end. There's no stop. You play straight through. Why this is, I don't know. He wrote it that way. I mean, that's the thing. When someone writes a tune, like sometimes they do it, they'll make changes in the different sections. So we basically keep going through the 9 bars, and then we get to the bridge. Now, typically when you get to the bridge of a tune, the idea is like, okay, we're going to make like a major change here. We really want to make a mark in the music, and we want to change it so that it feels like we're in a different section. But in this case, like the decision was made, I guess, by me, that we don't want to lose the train. If we lose the train, we're going to lose the feel of this thing. This tune is kind of like Mumford and Sons. Like that's what it reminded me of, right? Kind of like a modern take on like a bluegrassy pop sort of thing. So I was like, man, we cannot pull this train out or I'm going to have a train wreck on my hands. So what I have is add crashes and build. Right? Add crashes and build that's really vague, right? That's really vague. Like, what does that mean? I add crashes and build. Wow, I can do all kinds of crazy stuff. But I know what that means. This note is for me. I wrote this chart. I know exactly what that means. I'm going to play some crashes on beat 1 every couple of bars. And sometimes I'll play more and sometimes I'll play less. I'll feel it. It'll be different every time. But I know what that is. So when you guys write your chart and you write things like add crashes and build, that's cool as long as you know what that is. You know, someone else doesn't have to read your chart. It's not for anyone else. It's for you. You make this chart. And then, again, as I said, like I often make these things and I do not read them on stage because it will affect your stage performance if you're buried in the page like this. You don't want to be so chart reliant that you're not thinking about the music, right? That's a very funny thing for someone like me standing up here showing you all these charts to say. But this is how I relate to these charts. I think they're a really important tool for learning and understanding music. And then you put them aside and you use your ear, you use your musicality, you use everything at your disposal to make it really happening. So we do the bridge, we add crashes and build, and we have yet another lift at the end of the bridge. It's all very important that we all stop together in that lift because everybody else is stopping. So I hit it. It's not like a hard stop, but it's like on beat 1 of the last bar of the bridge, we stop playing. Then we go back into the verse. Then an interesting thing has happened. The artist, Luke, who wrote this tune, he was like, I think we really need a big change for verse 3. So we pulled out the train. We pulled it out. No snare drum, but the heartbeat of this groove, the train is, I guess, I don't know, they're both kind of the heartbeat, but like the kick drum on all 4 quarter notes, this is like really propelling the whole thing. So when we get into verse 3, the idea was, okay, we're going to pull the texture of the snare out, but we're going to keep the bass drum happening. We're going to keep it cranking because he's still singing and he's still playing guitar, but the bass player stops. So you think about this, right? It's like you add a few little things in and you take a few little things out. We do verse 3. That's only the first half. The second half of verse 3, the second 8 bars, we're adding the train back in. So now we're back where we were, but we haven't like built up for the big finish yet, but we're like gearing up for the big ending of the thing. So then it feels like we're about to really go to the high point. But then on the chorus, he was like, let's dial it back even further. Let's really shock everybody. Let's really change this thing and make it a little less monotonous. So we're pulling out the bass drum and we're playing crashes on beat 1 of every bar. Very simple thing. I'm not playing them too loud. I'm playing them real gentle. I'm thinking about the rest of the band. I'm thinking about the vocals. Because this is like his moment. If you think about this like a musician, not just like a drummer, you think about it as a full musician, like we're really trying to make these vocals sound good. That's what we want in this section. Important to frame those vocals. So we don't want to like really smash the heck out of our crash cymbal while he's having his emotional moment, right? Very important to be sensitive to that. So we play these crashes on the chorus, and then in the second part of the chorus, we come back in with a groove. I put an exclamation point after it. That's because that's really where we're getting into the big ending of the tune. And then we do the outro, and it's the same thing. The outro is really just the same as the chorus, but he's like kind of shouting, and it's big, right? So all these little things, subtle details, it's such an important thing to think about when you're creating a drum part. And I hope that I've communicated to you guys, like, this is how I think on this stuff. And it might sound so complicated, but you really just run it through this process every time. You have, like, even if you're playing really hard music, all these things that I think about them no matter what style I'm playing. This goes across everything. If you're playing like rock stuff, or you're playing jazz, you're playing metal, you're always trying to think about how can I contribute to the song. Do you guys know this? Have you heard this saying, like, play to serve the song? Have you heard this? I can't stand this saying. I think it makes no sense because we're not serving the song, right? We're not like an external force that's doing things and making the song do things. Your part as the drummer is the song. You are the song. You're creating the song. You're inside it. It's not outside. It's an inside thing. And I think that the most important thing to remember is, like, how does my part make this song better? How does it make it better? How does it fit with everybody else? And this is the stuff that I'm passionate about, and this is the stuff I think about. When this works. This works if you're playing something a little more complicated. Now, I will play something a little more complicated. Okay, come on.
Like a page as the words are undone. Freely done like a passionate prayer, spinning into the
Okay, so a little more challenging than the last one, right? A little bit more going on. So, does everyone see on this chart? This is a chart by Dave Ross, who's another one of the artists in my book. He wrote the very first tune I played when I came in as well. So, you see the numbers there? We've got the numbers in the box. That's how many bars we have in each section. But then there are the numbers in parentheses. Does everyone know what those mean? Those are that's the number of beats. That's the time signature, right? So I was like, okay, I could write a whole chart for this. And actually I did, and I'll show it to you in a minute. But I was like, okay, I can do this thing with a roadmap. I can do it with a roadmap, which again, as I said, I made the thing and now I don't read it because I know the tune. I feel it, feel the music. So basically, this seems really complicated. We've got a bar of 3. If you look at the intro, we've got a bar of 3/4, a bar of 4/4, a bar of 3/4, and a bar of 5/4. That happens in the intro and the re-intro every time that happens. But one thing to remember too is like I've got the quarter note bass drum thing happening pretty much throughout the tune, and that's kind of centering us because we have a lot of extra beats and little things happening, but we don't ever want to lose that like 12/8 kind of feel of that groove happening. So when we get into the verse, we've got 3/4, 3/4, 3/4, 3/5. I have it in parentheses, and then I wrote ×2 because it happens twice, and that's 16 bars. Really, the way I like to think of odd time signatures is the best way to do it is just subdivide it. Everything is like, 2s and 3s. That's the best way to approach stuff like this. And when I think of the bar of 5 that happens at the end of the thing, that's just like an extra little tag that goes on the end of his phrase, his 3/4 that he's doing every time. Because it's like a lot of 7, and then there's like the one extra beat. So when we get to the pre-chorus, I'm kind of breaking out of the beat a little bit, but we're still doing the same 3/4, 3/4, 3/4, 3/5 thing happening. When we get to the chorus, I'm over on the ride, and it's the same as the intro. So really, we've got 3 different things happening in this tune. We've got the 3/4, 3/5 thing that happens in the beginning and in the choruses, and then we've got the verse thing, which doesn't have the extra bar of 5 every other first time. Is everyone following this? It sounds super complicated. It can be daunting. This stuff can be really daunting when you get into it. But if you break it down, there's a lot of great software available that was not available when I was a kid, where you can, does everyone know what Moises AI is? Great. Moises AI is awesome. I think it's awesome because you can slow it down and you could pull stuff out and play the different, it's basically stemming the thing for you and making stems, and you can go through and you can make it a practice tool. The Hudson Music app, by the way, which you get when you buy this book and download these tracks, it does the same thing. So the way that I think about odd time signature grooves is I just try to break it down, and now use Moises AI, slow the thing down, and really make it a practice tool and make it so that you can get through it. And I think the other thing too is we talked about locking in with the rest of the band. In this case, I think as long as my bass drum is kind of going the whole time, and I've got this sort of 12/8 triplety feel happening over top of it, I think that the groove's going to keep propelling forward, and I think we're going to be in okay shape. The only time that I really pulled that bass drum out is when I got into the solo at the end, because that's my solo. That's the drum solo. You don't have to play that supportive role. When you're soloing, that's everybody else's job to hold you up for a minute, and they got to play this thing. Dun, 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 dun. They got to play that vamp for you, and then you can blow and do your solo over the vamp. Yeah, let's play one more odd time signature tune and talk about the groove on that. So I'm not going to put the chart up on this one, and you guys can guess. Let's see if we can guess what it is. Okay. All right, hold on. That's one from the new book. It's called Balkan Talkin'. It's like a Balkan jazz-ish sort of thing, right? Time signature. Yes. Yes, you got it. I knew this was a smart group. 11/8, right? So here is the lead sheet that for this tune where I swear I just saw it. There it is. Okay. Yeah. So basically the way I think of these grooves, again, it's a series of 2s and 3s. And one thing that's interesting, we talked all about the bass and drums and locking in the bass and drums groove. For me, when you have something really complicated that's an odd time signature, the most important thing I think from a rhythm section perspective is that we have these little check-in points in the groove. Everybody does not have to be playing the same thing the whole time, but there's like points in the groove where the bass and drums and guitar and the other instruments sort of meet up. So in this groove, we want it to be kind of rigid, right? This groove has to be pretty straight. Like, we can go off it a little bit, but for the most part, every time I play this thing, I'm playing bum 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 bum. So when that happens, if you listen to the bass player, he's doing it too. We basically are taking this very complicated groove, and we meet at the beginning on those two things, and then we do crosstalk, musical crosstalk. There's all kinds of other stuff going on. And I think that gives the groove some stability, despite the fact that it's really got a lot going on. Now, the way I divide this groove, this is a Bulgarian groove called a kopanica. It's a traditional folk dance groove. And basically the way I think of it is 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, right? 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. An easier way to think about it would be short, short, long, short, 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 long, short, short. You see what I'm doing there? I'm basically just taking the 3 is my long, and all those 2s are the short. So I remember when we started playing this with the band, like, it took a minute to feel this, right? Everybody, like, we're not from Bulgaria. We didn't grow up, like, checking out this kind of Balkan jazz. This is hard, right? This is what I'm trying to say, like, you have to have a set of processes for getting the vocabulary right in a new style and for getting the feel right. And actually, you know what inspired me to do this is, like, I got a call in Brooklyn to play with this Albanian orchestra, like a big orchestra of, like, it's like 40 people. And it's all these traditional, like, Albanian pop stars, none of whom I, of course, had ever heard of, but they all have like 7 million followers on Instagram, and they're big Albanian stars. And they came in, and we were in this big hall, and it's all full of elderly folks, and everybody, we're playing these complicated grooves, it's like 3s and 2s and whatever, and they're all clapping. They're clapping these grooves, and I'm like, man, I'm sitting in the practice room, like, working this out, and these people who aren't even musicians, they grew up with it. They feel it. They know it, you know? Like, this is part of their folklore. This is part of their heritage. And I think all I'm trying to say is that, like, you're going to encounter a lot of music that is not in your wheelhouse in that way. And if you have a plan for how to learn music and how to learn songs and how to lock stuff in and do groove, like find grooves that lock in with your bass player, you're going to be able to play anything. You can play any style. This works for everything. I promise it does, you know? And I think that's just the thing that I just feel is the most important thing. So, yeah. So let's see. We're at 9:40 now. So I do want to take some questions. We also have some stuff to give away. Some very cool stuff. We have some stuff from Remo. I have a Lowboy Custom Beaters gift certificate, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm actually on a clinic tour right now. This is my 5th clinic or something in the last little while, and I have one more tomorrow. And my companies have been generous. These companies I'm working with, they've been generous about giving some stuff away. So I actually came up with some trivia questions and some drummer trivia questions that we're going to use to give the stuff away. So while Marcelo is over there sorting that out, I'm going to open the floor now. Does anyone have any questions for me about anything? Questions about professional stuff or about music or about anything we've done? Go ahead and just raise your hand. Yes. How long did it I'll repeat the question. How long did it take for me to come up with the process of making my own charts? A lot of it was trial and error, and a lot of it was like asking people, like, hey, what do you do? Like, what is your thing? What does your chart look like? Can you check it out? I mean, I think that like, if you if you just write these down for yourself and you have the information that you need, like that's the most important thing. Like everybody's doesn't have to look the same. And I think like the most important thing with those is like you need the number of bars in each section, you need the groove, you need the time signature, you need the beats per minute. That's a really important thing, by the way, guys. Like learn what the beats per minute feels like. So if somebody says something is 130 whatever, like you have a pretty good quick like recall of what that is, just to be able to sort of know, like medium, fast, slow, whatever. Like that's a good training, is try to guess on a metronome, guess what different beats, how fast they are. Next question, anybody? What do you got? Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's important to think about building. Like the one that I just played, that one I think works best with less variation. But there are some that, you know, I think it's important to play like over the bar line. Like that's a thing where you don't hit every single downbeat. Like that's an idea for how to expand your vocabulary and odd time signature stuff. You actually kind of set me up because I'm gonna play one more track after this, one last track, and it's actually, you know, it'll make I think it's gonna make that point, that same point that you're asking about. Questions? Any others? Anybody? Yes. Oh, wow. It's already, that's already like, you've already won half the battle. Did everyone hear the question? The question was, from a singer, how do I make it easier for the drummer? Well, just the fact that you even are thinking about that already puts you ahead of everybody else. Not everybody else, but a lot of people. I mean, that's the thing, like when we're in a rehearsal situation or performance or class or whatever, band, like these are social experiments. These are social situations. So if you go in with that attitude, like I can tell you some specific stuff, like learn the language, you know, learn how to learn what the different parts of the drum set are, and learn that that's the hi-hat and the snare and the bass drum and the different things and what they do and the role that they play. And if you are trying to communicate an idea, if you can meet the drummer a little bit halfway with the musical terminology, I think just the effort of it is like pretty cool. You're off to a good start. Yes. Sure. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yep. Again, I often will create these charts and I will use the process of creating the chart to help me learn the music, and then I won't look at them. I actually prefer, like, it's better to not read if you have a choice. It's better to not read. Like, because then you'll be more present in the music. Like sometimes the page can be an impediment to, it can be an obstacle to being free in the music and whatever. But I also think that being organized and having the ability to make these charts, sometimes I'll make the chart and I won't read it, but then I'll remember making it and be like, oh, cool. Like I remember like the bridge is 11 bars, like, and then you're cool. Now you know that happens. Because I think even if you don't use charts, I think this is like a quick way to learn songs, and this is all for your ear. The whole point is to develop your ear. That's what we want. This is just a tool. Like written music, I know I'm giving maybe a longer answer, but like one thing that I always found like to be like that I didn't like was when someone handed you a sheet of paper and said, here's the music, play this. It's like, no, man, this is not the music. This is a piece of paper with some stuff written on it. The music is what we're going to play. This is just a communication tool, a tool to help you play better. That's what this is too. More questions? Anyone else? Awesome. So I'm going to play one more track, and then we'll do the giveaways. This is another odd time signature track, and I would say I think it should be easier to guess to figure out the time signature. But I think to your question, like think about like how we're going to start the groove, in a more simple fashion, and I'll be playing with the track, and then as it goes along, I'll expand a little bit. This one's called Fusion Intrusion. And I'm going to take off my coat. Thanks, folks. So, yeah, basically what we're doing there, again, basic groove to start out, and we've got this little meeting point in the groove, right? It's, what's the time signature? Yeah, 5/4. So, but it's a slow 5. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a lot of counting. So in this groove, we've got this little meeting spot. Dun 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 dun. So that little thing that happens at the beginning of the groove, at least initially with the bass and drums, that's kind of our little check-in point. That's our meeting spot in a complicated groove where we find a moment where we're playing together and we stabilize the thing, and then everybody goes off and plays what they want for the rest of the bar. But that's a meeting point. It's an important little musical thing to keep us together. And as we go along, you'll notice not as many downbeats, and we're playing over the bar line, and we're, exploring more complicated ideas, which is what you want to do when you're trying to be creative. You try to expand. So that's my thing with the odd time stuff. It's like, just break it down, break it all the way down, get deep inside there, and make sure that you understand what it's like slow, and then build it up. So, cool. Well, thank you guys. This has been a joy. We're going to do this trivia now, and I've got some questions prepared for you. And it's been interesting along the way and with this tour to see who gets the questions. I feel like we're going to have good luck with the questions. There was one spot that man, they didn't get any of them, but man, they really were into it and they learned these things. So let's check it out. So Marcelo has some stuff back there, some stuff you can use. So let's get into the questions. I'm gonna put the question up. If you know the answer, just shout it out, and I will I might need some help, identifying who was first and whatever. But here's the first question. Everybody ready? This is for some Remo stuff, right? Something? He's giving me a thumbs up. Here we go. So it's time for drummer trivia. Nice. Okay. Here's the first question. Sorry, guys. One moment. Okay. Which legendary King Crimson drummer returned to playing in 2022 after a 13-year hiatus? Shout it out. Anybody? Yeah. Cool. I'll just take all the swag home with me then. That's fine. The answer is Bill Bruford. Everyone know who that is? Okay, cool. You're all too young. But he's very important. You should check him out. He's one of the titans of progressive rock. Next question. I don't know why this. There. What session heavyweight played on all but one track of Michael Jackson's 1979 album Off the Wall, which featured Rock With You and Don't Stop Till You Get Enough? This is an L. What? Yes, J.R. Robinson. You did it. Round of applause. You have won something I can't see. Yes, a T-shirt. Make sure it's the right size. There's a couple different sizes over there. Good job. Very nice. Okay. And there he is. J.R. Robinson. Okay. Number 3. Which drummer was discovered by David Bowie at the 55 Bar in Greenwich Village and ended up playing on his final album, Black Star? Yes, there we go. Nick Potters. Mark Juliana. Very good. Awesome. Nick, you won something. I don't know what. We'll find out. Question 4. If any of you get this, nobody has gotten this. Which late era Miles Davis drummer originated the popular go-go rhythm, playing in the DC area with Chuck Brown? Bonus, he was born in my hometown of Bethesda, Maryland. Anyone know who this is? I see people concentrating really hard. That's good. No. This is someone you should know, even though you might not know this person. The answer is Ricky Wellman. Look him up, guys. YouTube. Very important. Ricky Wellman. Okay, next question. Who were the two drummers in Beyonce's original all-female backup band from approximately 2007 to 2012? They're really awesome. They're two of the best drummers in the world. Can anyone think of any of them? If you name one of them, you'll win. It was not Sheila E., but funny enough, everybody guesses Sheila E. because she's important too, actually. Do you know Marcella? Awesome. Okay. Nikki Glaspie and Kim Thompson, both great drummers. Really important folks. You guys should check them out. Okay, next question. Okay, so this is for a everyone think about this for a minute. This is for a gift certificate for a Lowboy custom beater, bass drum beater. Does everyone know what that is? That's actually here. I've got one here. These amazing custom bass drum beaters that I use. This is the lightweight version. The larger one is like a torpedo shape. And a lot of really, really awesome drummers use them, and I'm really grateful to have their support. So here's what we're gonna do. We have, I don't know, like 20 people in the room or whatever. So everybody's gonna guess, and whoever gets the closest is gonna get the thing, which I'm actually realizing is in my bag over on the side of the stage. So we'll clap for you and then come up after and you'll get it. Nick, you're going first. Okay. Everyone try to remember, this is going to be hard to keep track of this. We'll do this side first. Go ahead. Okay. 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 I don't know is an acceptable answer. Go ahead. Okay. We already had 40. Guess another thing. Okay. In the back? Okay. Okay, cool. Did we do everyone on that side? Awesome. Okay, in the front? No idea. Yeah, this is fun. 32. 67? No? 54. Okay, in the back row. Okay, and she doesn't get to guess because she knows the answer already. Guys, you're all wrong. Who said 1930? Over here. You won. Round of applause. Yeah. Nobody's guessed. That's actually the earliest anyone has guessed. Ludwig made that pedal, and you could look it up online. It's a kind of wild-looking thing. It's like amazing that it even works, but it was a very reliable pedal, and it does work. Here's the next question for some more Remo stuff. Which legendary jazz drummer was nicknamed Snap Crackle? Hint, he passed away last year at the ripe old age of 99. This question's 1 year old, so he passed away 2 years ago. Marcelo knows. I just love this so much. This is my favorite part of the whole thing. Okay, the answer is Roy Haynes. Snap Crackle. I had to do a transcription of that tune in school, and there's a tune called Snap Crackle. It's a pretty hard tune. You guys should check that one out. Okay, here's the next one. Which drummer recorded Stevie Wonder's classic iconic song, Superstition? Yes. Who said that? Nick, you're killing me, man. You're getting all the answers. Okay. Nick won again. Round of applause for Nick. Yes, Stevie Wonder did win. We'll divide this stuff up at the end. Yeah, he won a drum key. Tune your drums. Okay. Who was the original drummer in the British jazz fusion band Brand X? I guarantee you know this. Who this is. I guarantee. And then go listen to this band. I'm just going to stand up here. I'm not going to give you the answer. Brand X. Okay, so we're all going to go check out Brand X now, right? Because the answer is Phil Collins. And you know what? It's some real good drumming. Like, real good. I mean, not that Phil Collins playing Phil Collins and all the other stuff isn't good, but this is like, it's really amazing to hear him play this way. So, okay, let's move on. I believe this is the last one. Which DC area drummer gained international acclaim for his incredible performance of Usher's Caught Up at the 2005 Grammy Awards? Nick, don't answer. Yes, Aaron Spears. Both of those people who said that win something, because we have. Round of applause. Aaron Spears. That's the answer. And I think that's the last question. Let's find out. Was that 10? Yes, that was it. Okay, so that's it. That was the last question. If we have more stuff, we'll sort of divide it gently about the room. Guys, thank you. This has been like amazing. I would like to, first of all, thank Marcelo for the opportunity to do this. You guys are really lucky to have him here. He's, you know, he's really passionate about this and bringing in people to give you guys different perspectives. And he also happens to be a great drummer in his own right, which you guys know. And I couldn't have asked for a better host for this, so thank you so much for having me. I would also like to thank my artist relations director at Yamaha Drums, Greg Crane, for lending me this drum set with this gentleman on the front who nobody asked about. This is his drum set. That is the guy from Smokey and the Bandit. And he's got this on his drum set. And nobody asked about it. You said they were going to ask. They didn't ask. That's Jackie Gleason. This Smokey and the Bandit was a comedy movie that came out in 1977 before I think everybody in this room, including me, was born. So almost everybody. So that's what that is. So I want to say thank you to Greg for these awesome drums. Thank you to Peisty Cymbals, Remo Drumheads, Vic Firth, all my companies, Lowboy Custom Beaters. And thank you guys, thank you to you for coming, because this has been amazing and fun. And, you know, if anyone's going down to the NAMM show, I'll be down there. Please follow me on the socials, and please stay in touch. I have books, my book for sale here. If you want to come see me in the back, they're back here. I'll sign them for you. If you're interested in that, my new book, More Stuff You Can Use, is available for pre-order. You can go on robmitzner.com and find it. The first book is there in the back. So please come see me. And again, thank you again. This has just been such a great experience. You guys are the best. Take care. Cue the house.